All right, guys, and welcome back to the All Things American Girl podcast. Unfortunately, we had to make some minor changes. So, as you can see, there's only two of us, and we also have our special guest tonight, Miss Bernice Wright. We'll be hearing from her closer towards the end of the evening. As you all know, February is Black History Month, and Miss Bernice is going to be talking about the African American dolls for Black History Month. So let's get this started. All right, guys. So we are going to rerun the history of Pleasant Company for you. And we're also going to talk a little bit about ourselves. So we're going to talk about ourselves and how we got into American Girl collecting. So my name is Nicole Albergo. I am your hostess with the mostest with my special guest, my mini-me, Nicole Jr. Hi, everyone. So, the podcast was originally my idea. My co-host over here, my lovely co-host and her mini-me, little Becky, was my inspiration for this podcast. Becky, would you like to tell everyone why you were the influence for this podcast?
Well, my doll and I were wearing our headphones, and we were having a family get-together online, and we just gave you that inspiration of let's do a podcast with the dolls, talking about the dolls. And I love the idea. And so here I am. And we are ready to talk about the history of one of our favorite companies.
All right. So basically, in a nutshell, we're not going to keep you too much time with how we got into American Girl collecting. We will keep it as brief as possible. So I was about 17 years old, and I had officially received my first American Girl doll, which is my OG Samantha, which I saved up money for, and my grandma helped me the rest of the way to basically buy my first American Girl doll. But before that, long time ago, 9 years prior, I wasn't able to get an American Girl doll because my parents basically told me, hey kid, we're not made of money. You're not getting your American Girl doll. I am not spending $85 on a doll. Hence, the American Girl dreams were broken. I had to stick to looking at catalogs and reading the books. So the first set of books that I actually picked up was Samantha. And ever since then, me and Samantha have been best friends. My collection has grown over the past 2 years, due to, thanks a lot, everybody, the COVID-19 pandemic. I went from 3 dolls to 12 dolls. I'm not going to go through everybody, but I do have the 2 special new additions, the Bitty Baby twins, but we will talk about them later. So I am going to pass the microphone over to Little Becky and Big Becky. Becky, can you tell us how you got started briefly, keeping it in a nutshell?
Yep. Just like you, my parents weren't made of money. So I saved my allowance for a couple of years to be able to bring Molly home to me when I was 13 in 93. She came just in time to comfort me when I was hospitalized with pneumonia, and she has been one of my treasures ever since. My parents did find enough money to help supply me with a number of her accessories over the years and really encouraged me to learn how to sew so I could make outfits for her. And she was my only doll until after I was married. But that first Christmas when I was after I got married, my husband and I spent a week in Williamsburg with my parents, and just before we went down to Williamsburg, we stopped at the American Girl store and picked up my beautiful little Becky. All right,
and she really does look like you.
Yep. When I found out in 2009 that they were coming out with a doll that had my name, I was like, oh my gosh, let her be beautiful. She's perfect. But unfortunately, at that time in my life, mid-20s, buying a doll just wasn't on my radar at that time. So once I was married and settled down a little bit, had some savings, I was able to get back into it. And since then, my collection's grown. As you can see, I've got my little doll room in the background here. And the pandemic has not been good for my pocketbook as far as dolls go either, although I've been as economical as I can be.
I'll agree with that. So while we are talking about our history of American Girl, we are actually going to ask our special co-host this evening, Miss Bernice Wright, to tell us how she got into collecting.
Hi everybody. I started last year. That was it. But waiting for that, I knew about it when I was a little girl. Somebody gave me the movies and I think one of the books, and that was it. I ain't start collecting dogs till last year.
All right, and can you
That's
tell them
it.
who you chose and why really quickly, and tell them how you
Uh,
recently went from 1 to 2?
I got Kaya because she's part of my heritage and I love her so much. And yes, and I got Daphne. No, thanks to Nicole.
She adopted her.
Yes, I'm waiting for the birth certificate. Y'all ain't hear that?
Yeah, she adopted her, Becky, so that we could make room for the twins.
Oh,
Yes,
wonderful.
and I'm waiting for the birth certificate,
I
Nicole.
sent it to you on the text message, dear. You have to print it.
Okay.
All right, so we are going to talk about the original history of Pleasant Company. So in 1986, Pleasant T. Rowland had gone, in the year 1984, Pleasant T. Rowland had gone to Colonial Williamsburg to basically learn more about Colonial Williamsburg and its heritage on vacation. Mrs. Rowland was a school teacher, and she wanted to make the American Girl brand. But back then in 1986, it was called Pleasant Company. She wanted to make learning more fun, and there weren't enough dolls on the market for her nieces. She felt that she needed to have other competition dolls rather than just Barbie and Cabbage Patch Kids and Strawberry Shortcake and all those other fun dolls that we remember from the 1980s. So that following Christmas, she said, you know what? Let's do this. Let's make a doll for a little girl. And the concept known today as American Girls Collection was born. And it teaches young girls about the past and the age of the girls who buy them. The first dolls were also made in Germany at the Gotts factory in 1986 by Markel Fields. And holiday 1986, the AG collection was sent out with about 500,000 catalogs sent nationwide. Becky, we don't have any 1986 catalogs, do we? Except for maybe Courtney's, which I will
No,
have to
no
pull out.
1986 catalogs, but we do have some from the early 90s.
Yes, and can we pull those up with the 3 original dolls so that everybody can just quickly see?
Yes, just give me one moment. I didn't get a chance to pull all my pictures up before we started, but I do have
All
them.
right, so while you are pulling your pictures, I will talk. There were originally 3 dolls available that year in 1986. The first 3 dolls that came in the collection was Miss Molly McIntyre, which Miss Becky currently has with her. We have Miss Kirsten Larson and my personal favorite, Miss Samantha Parkington. When the dolls were first released, they were only released with 3 books. Each had clothes and accessories, and they were sold at out of the Pleasant Company catalog. And that year, 1.7 million dolls were sold that Christmas. And the doll brand was targeted towards girls 8 to 12 years old. Were a hit. All right, so we are going to take a look at those. All right, so that's
Kirsten
Miss Kirsten Larson.
in her collection. Addie did not exist yet in 1986, but Samantha here, our Victorian / Edwardian beauty. her classic dress and her money accessories. And Molly, our brave patriot, wearing the most patriotic outfit ever. Well, save for her dance outfit, which is slightly more patriotic.
Definitely. All right.
So those were the 3 original. Oh, this is a 94 catalog. Okay, yeah, I had the year off on that.
All right. Well, no big deal. We got our visuals, which is good. All right. So we are in 1989. So we are in 1987. 3 more books were added to that, those 3 dolls, which we already know we don't need to talk about. 1989, new outfits were added to the collection. Kirsten's dwindle outfit was added, Samantha's play dress, and Molly's Halloween hula outfit. No books were added for these outfits.
I do have some quick pictures I took from the American Girl Ultimate Visual Guide, which we can use as part of our timeline exploration here.
All right.
Okay. So here we see some of Kirsten's early outfits. Okay, please continue.
All right. So the AG collection expanded with the introduction to doll-related crafts, including paper dolls, theater, and the cookbook. It featured the 3 dolls, doll patterns as well. I do have those. If you want to take 1 minute, Becky, just to talk, so I can show our friends the original theater production.
Well, for me, the doll patterns were one of the greatest things. When I bought Molly, I negotiated with my father to get just a little bit more money so I could buy the pattern. This was my first lesson in debt. I had to do a lot of dishes to earn that money back. But I used that pattern and was able to use it to replicate many of the outfits and ultimately save some money. I also learned a lot about sewing. And when I go back and I look at some of those first outfits that I made, I'm like, wow. But
Becky, if we could scroll up.
Yes.
If we could scroll
I
up,
only got the timeline part of that picture. I'm sorry.
Yeah, can we scroll up so we can see the original 3 dolls for 86 to 87?
So what I can do is I can show you the picture because I didn't take a picture of this page. Let me stop my share for a moment. Here we go.
So those are the original 3 lines that were only currently available in 1986 to about 1991. So as I was just saying, I have the theater kit for Samantha, which was introduced that year. And as you could tell, it's an original because it has the Pleasant Company logo on it. I have Samantha's original paper dolls. I have Samantha's original cookbook. Oh, sorry, my bad, craft book. And Samantha's original cookbook, which I still have yet to read, but I am so afraid to take these out of the house because they're the originals. All right, so moving on to the year 1990, Our New Baby debuts. Becky, I remember from our previous talking, you had talked a little bit about Our New Baby. Would you be able to talk about Our New Baby, please?
Yes. So, in the beginning, Our New Baby was let me go ahead and stop this share because I want to move on to the next page anyway. In the beginning, Our New Baby was intended by President Rowland to give young children a tangible way to learn about caring for a new family member when a new baby is born. And the baby itself was a 15-inch doll that came with a number of beautiful accessories. Originally, it also came along with a book called Our New Baby that had pictures of the doll, and the original doll came in 3 ethnicities. You could get it in an Asian appearing doll, an African American appearing doll, and of course a white doll with blonde hair. Later versions, of course, expanded the variety of options available. And the book was printed with all of those ethnicities so that you could choose a book that matched your doll in that case. They also produced clothing and clothing lines for both babies and young children that matched the Our New Baby. And eventually Our New Baby became Bitty Baby.
All right. So in 1991, again, outfits were added for Kirsten's work dress, Samantha's tea dress, and Molly's school outfit. School dress were also added that year in spring of 1991. And after about 5 years later, we finally got a new historical. And the year is 1774. Miss Felicity Merriman was the first edition doll to the AG collection. She was introduced in the catalog and was introduced for the holidays. Available with her was the doll and book, Christmas outfit, book and accessories, school outfit and book and accessories, and bed. The clothes press and the nightgown were the candlestick and the book warmer, pretty doll book. 5 years later, actually, correct me, I was wrong. 5 years later, Mrs. Rowland's trip to Williamsburg could see the addition of a colonial doll. White bodies were changed to match the colors of other dolls, other parts of the bodies. So we are actually going to touch base on that a little bit later on when we get to Felicity and tell you guys why. In 1992, the second half of Felicity's collection was added. And I am going to let you talk about this one, Becky. The doll hospital is now available, sent home in a gown, and to get a balloon and a good health certificate. Special pink box with a Band-Aid on it. So, Becky, can you pull that original newspaper up if you had it?
Oh, goodness, I left that downstairs.
All right, can you briefly talk about what you remember from it?
Yes. So, when the doll hospital was opened, they published a lot of information about the doll hospital and how dolls could go to the hospital for repairs if they were severely damaged in any way. And the little American Girl Times that came in one of my catalogs that we discovered when we were going through them the other day had a whole story with a headline about how Kit was mangled by a doll, not Kit, I forget which doll it was, but one of the dolls had a really bad run-in with a dog, and the doll hospital was able to repair her.
Oh, wow. Very interesting. All right, so moving into the year, fall of 1992, the AG magazine debuts. So a Pleasant Company is slowly turning into the brand that we know currently as American Girl under Mattel. But at this time, it's still Pleasant Company. It's American Girl for Girls Pleasant Company, something like that.
Well, it was always the American Girl collection under Pleasant Company.
In 1993, Addie is debuted into the catalog. She's the first African American doll to be introduced in the holiday of 1993. Her school and Christmas books and doll and nightgown and trunk and bed family quilt and nightstand and nighttime necessities. Nighttime necessities and were added for the four dolls in their collections as well. Kirsten's housecoat and socker were also added, Sam's kimono and slippers, and Molly's robe and fuzzy wuzzies. Felicity's work gown and green riding habit were also added. Paper dolls were introduced for all the dolls. So Addie was actually the first African American doll added to the American Girls collection line for more cultural diversity. And this is
She was
actually a very...
also. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say she was also the first time that the dolls had a different face mold. All four of the prior dolls used exactly the same face and simply used hair and eye color to distinguish between them.
We are in 1994 now. 3 more books were added for Addie and outfits. Molly's radio was also added. Bucky, do you have that handy?
I do. I won't play the whole thing tonight, but Molly's radio, at that time, I believe there was another version of it later, played several songs and snippets from 1940s radio, and then finally lands on the channel where her father, at the end of Molly's Surprise, is sending a message from overseas via the radio to his family. So the very last part of the clip is that. And it's battery operated. All the little dials on it will turn. One of them actually does operate the volume. And then the button, of course, is how you start the recording. It only has one recording on it, but keep in mind, this was 1994.
Miss A.G. Bear was introduced to the catalog. She came with a journal and sent to different girls where they added souvenirs to the backpack and to write about it. Theater, craft book, and cookbooks were also added to each doll. In 1995, the holiday 1995 introduced the American Girl of Today's collection. 20 different dolls with different features. So this is known as American Girl of Today in 1995, which later on when we get to that, I will actually show my original American Girl of Today from 1995. So the concept to this was, quote, "She's just like you, you're part of history too." The dolls came with blank books that followed the format of the historicals. A set of mini historicals were added for each doll to choose. So Nikki actually has mini, because she's a truly me, from like 2009. I believe back then it was called Just Like You. But she actually kind of more takes towards the American Girl of Today line for her. So I actually have a mini doll for her. New outfits also came out, including Addie's patriotic outfit. And 1996, do we have 1996 on there, Becky?
Yes. I got them as 2 different pictures so they'd be a little bigger. Alright, here we are in 1996.
1996 is the 10th anniversary of the American Girls collection. Commemorative shirts were made for girls and dolls. And it said on it, "Proud to be an American Girl," available for 1 year only. American Girl of Today meet outfit changes to the yellow fleece and black leggings and matching accessories. Scenes and settings are also added to the collections for the historical dolls. Maybe one day, if I'm broadcasting from New York, I will pull them out of my mom's garage. 1997 limited edition outfits were added to the historical characters. Felicity's Town Fair, Kirsten's skating, Addie's silting, Samantha's bathing suit, and Molly's tennis. These were available for 1 year only or until supplies lasted. But here's a little interesting fact, Becky. They actually lasted well beyond 1997 and actually sold out in 2002. Josefina is introduced with 6 books, with clothing, furniture, and other things. She is the first Hispanic doll. Can you tell us a little bit more about Miss Josefina, Becky?
Yes, her character, unlike the very spunky girls who came before her, is much more reserved. She is quiet and a little shy. She is also dealing with grief that uh, colors the shape of her story as her whole family recovers from the death of her mother. She and her sisters live in uh, the American Southwest before it actually became a state. Okay, so eventually the place where she lived would become New Mexico. They were, they had a rancho there, and they worked hard to overcome the challenges of living in 19th century New Mexico, as well as hanging on to their cultural traditions.
All right, moving on to 1998. American Girl Place Chicago opens in November of 1998. It's the first store to be opened under the American Girl brand and Pleasant Company. At this time, Pleasant Rowland has already officially started transitioning her selling of Pleasant Company to American Girl. Dun dun dun. American the store featured a cafe, a photo studio, a musical theater, a full line of products, and the musical entitled The American Girls Review with matching outfits for girls and dolls. The last show was on September 3rd, 2001. In 1998, Mrs. Rowland unfortunately sells to Mattel. Ready for this number? A whopping $700 million. She stays on board for a few years to help the transition. Josefina's last 3 books and outfits were also added that year. American Girl of today's meat dress changes from a red vinyl jumper, an argyle tights, and black boots. Becky, can you tell us a little bit about that outfit? Because I heard that there were a lot of problems with that outfit.
Well, the vinyl dress had trouble with the integrity of the fabric. The fabric was not something that was made to withstand the kind of use that, your average young doll owner is going to give it. And so they had to deal with a lot of complaints about that outfit, and it did not last as long as some of the Girl of Today outfits did.
World books were added for the historical dolls. The first year American Girl collection was available to customers on the internet was 1999. 2000, Mrs. Rowland retires from Pleasant Company. American Girl becomes the main trademark and the name for the company. Sadly, the Pleasant Company logo vanishes. Heavy retirements began as the historical line. Felicity is the first victim of the Mattel debaucheries. The last doll Mrs. Rowland added before she stepped down was Kit, with books and matching outfits. All of the historical books' jackets changed under the American Girl line that year. After this slow downward spiral, what was once Pleasant Company to Mattel, known today as American Girl. Dun dun dun. So,
And while we all miss Pleasant Company that was, we are grateful that the company continues to grow and thrive today.
yep. But, Mrs. Rowland, thank you so much for giving us American Girl. But, Mattel is running it and kind of sort of, well, trying to keep up with my childhood, but not really. The products will never be the same as Pleasant Company. Hopefully, right now, as we are speaking and broadcasting, Mattel does get wind of our podcast and is listening. We are not happy as the sense to go back to the original roots. You guys need to put more quality into your product. Your product is good, but there's always room for improvement.
Always.
All right. So we have our special guest young lady speaker, Miss Bernice Wright, who is going to be talking about Black History Month throughout the next 4 weeks, covering the historical dolls that are currently available through Pleasant Company and also American Girl. So let's give Miss Bernice.
Oh, see you on mute. Okay, so the first person I'm doing is C.S. Mary Ray. She's a New Orleans girl, and she was born May 28th, 1843. She's a well-to-do family base. She loves partying, likes to make friends, helping other people, volunteering. And she also she liked to help her best friend speak Creole. Her best friend is Marie Grace. Yes.
Yep, Marie Grace. That's right.
Yeah. Not
Let's see if I
my
can
bad.
find a
Not
picture of
Creole.
her.
My bad. Not Creole. French. Since she already knows French. And she likes to dance and sing too. She always likes to shine.
Becky, do we have a visual of Marie Grace?
Yeah.
I do. Give me just a moment. I'll get
All right.
a picture of.
Bernice, keep
All
going.
right.
Yes, that is her right there. Okay. You know her best friend? Her favorite snacks is sweets made from pecan nuts, creamers, and sugar. Hobbies are poems, acting, out and plays. Her dream of future is to be be on a stage as an actress and travel the world. Let's see, family. Yes, her family is mother, father, her brother, and her grandparents. Yes. And I think that is it for my part.
All right. Thank you, Bernice. And
You're
Bernice,
welcome.
happy Black
Yes.
History Month. You are a
Thank you.
female and you are of African American descent, so that deserves a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you for
welcome.
sharing. And this will be going on throughout the entire month of February on our podcast, paying homage to the African American community, which is very important. And
Yes.
we are going to be moving on next. We're going to rebroadcast our Kirsten episode on Friday, and that will be available for you on our YouTube channel, which we now have our own YouTube channel, the All Things American Girl podcast, which Becky will be uploading this live feed to, so y'all could watch it. It's also available on Spotify if you are on the go and you want to listen to us on your long journey bus ride to work or driving in the car listening to us while you're driving to work every Thursday morning. So hit that like and subscribe button if you want to hear more.
Well, before we close off, let's not forget that we've got lots of history to talk about. So, of course, we know that today is the start of Black History Month, which is a modern celebration of African American culture and Black people throughout history who have really made a difference in our lives today. So we don't have any character birthdays to talk about today, but we do have the marriage of Josefina's father and her aunt, and we do have in the next week the wonderful events that come from Cecile and Mary Grace's books, where the two of them attend Mardi Gras balls and trick everyone with their costumes so they can see what the balls are like, because they're segregated, for the other half. We also have in history Samantha discovering that Nellie and her sisters are at an orphanage. And
Cold Rock House.
Yep, Cold Rock House. That's it. And We also see Kit's Uncle Hendrik breaking his wrist and leg and coming to live at Kit's house in Kit's final book. We see Nanea and her friends in 1942 finally returning to school after the Pearl Harbor attacks in December. And of course, in 1952, Queen Elizabeth II ascended the British throne. And of course, Queen Elizabeth II, as a princess with her sister, was one of Molly and her friend Emily's idols.
Didn't we also have some fun facts from last week that we missed, Becky? Can you fill us in of those as well?
Yes, absolutely. Give me just one moment to update my dates here. Let's see. Last week was
I can leave.
Yeah, you could leave.
Alright, see y'all later.
See you later. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye. Thank you for being here
Bye.
tonight. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, so last week again, we didn't have any character birthdays to celebrate, at least none that are on my list. We do see, however, the 15th Amendment, which prohibited the denial of the the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude, which, constitutionally at least, guaranteed all the previously enslaved people the right to vote as citizens. We also see the 16th Amendment, which permits Congress to levy income taxes in 1913. And that really is all I have for this range.
And can we talk a little bit about next week's special podcast, Becky?
Yes, so our next podcast is going to be talking about Kirsten. And we are going to be going into who Kirsten was, taking a look at the features of the doll in her collection, and discussing her story, which is a really exciting story of pioneer adventures.
And we also have a very special birthday in the house. It's me, your hostess
Happy
with the
birthday!
mostest. Happy early birthday. So we're actually having two special guests next week, Becky. We have Bernice returning with our second week. Correct me, who is after Cecile? Who is the next African-American historical?
That would be Addie, chronologically speaking.
All right, so we will have Miss Bernice speaking about Addie. And Michelle and Miss Grace, her daughter, are going to be writing a about 5-minute special podcast for joining us for our podcast for my birthday. So I don't know what they're up to, so I'm kind of excited. What's that, Nikki? Hey, I'm turning 16 again. I never aged. Mom ages,
Yay!
Unfortunately, Aunt Becky.
You're only as old as you feel.
Yep. I'm going to be 41, but still feel like a teenager.
You know it.
All right, guys, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Becky is going to be posting all of the links on the board. I will pin them to the top of the page, and you will be able to watch tonight's podcast live. Well, not live, but the recorded live on our YouTube channel. And you'll also be able, like I said, to listen on Spotify the day after while you're driving to work, having your morning cup of coffee. Take the All Things American Girl podcast along with you. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Nicole Roxanne Albergo. Thank you for listening. And my co-host,
Becky and little Becky.
All right, guys. So we will see you next week on our second week episode of the All Things American Girl podcast. So long for now. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.